Delaying benefits in favor of a higher early payout just means foregoing immediate cash flow. Financial planners generally identify a break-even point where the total benefit secured by waiting surpluses the cumulative cash that could have been received initiating benefits early. Now, according to Yahoo, Social Security benefits themselves are not taxable, but downsides of receiving payments early is that many people just continue to work, which can make some or even more to work benefits even taxable. In fact, that can apply to anyone collecting benefits who receives additional income. A single tax filer receiving Social Security payments who makes more than $25,000 of what the IRS calls combined income will be taxed on 50% of his or her benefits, up to a limit of $34,000 in income. At that point, the tax applies to about 85% of the benefits, and the limit for joint tax filers is $32,000 to $44,000. The number of workers claiming Social Security early in the Ssdi is increasing, which may be due to multiple reasons, but everyone's retirement path is different. Joe Biden is actually encouraging the American people to take action and claim this extra financial assistance. Americans that reside in several states and cities will be surprised to see a bonus relief payment this September. Throughout the fall, at least 5 states are providing stimulus checks to the residents. During the height of the crisis, many states, in conjunction with the federal government, via the distribution of economic impact payments, offered some form of stimulus to the residents. Now that the emergency period is largely past, said stimulus distribution has slowed, though not entirely. Due to a persistently turbulent economy, among other financial stressful factors, states are offering financial assistance. And according to Yahoo News, Alabama will be issuing a one-time tax rebate in November. Single people can claim and expect a $150 windfall, and married couples can expect $300. Lawmakers indicated that the rising grocery taxes were instrumental in the decision to provide this tax break, particularly given the fact that the government surpluses were realized at the same time. Almost 2 million people in Alabama are projected to receive the rebate, though one must have filed their taxes to be eligible. The state is also beginning to roll out a one-time tax rebate in mid-August. The tax rebate is actually quite sizable. There's a deadline attached to rebates in Montana, and it's October 1st. The governor said that 3 bills signed into law to provide income and property tax rebates to the Montana residents. Residents could qualify for a property tax rebate of up to $675 or an income tax rebate equal to the lesser $2,500. The governor has also of New Mexico introduced tax rebates for residents and economic impact payments for those who are not obligated to file taxes. Eligible married couples filing jointly as head of household or surviving spouses can expect a $1,000 tax rebate. Then the 50 to sell Washington. Now in Washington, the State Department of Revenue, it makes it clear that the eligible families and individuals can count on up to $1,200 in tax credits if they meet the requirement.
I'll be very brief. I want to talk very briefly about the auto strike. I'd like to say a few words about the contract negotiations between the United Auto Workers and the Big Three auto companies. I've been in touch with both parties since this began over the last few weeks and over the past decade. Auto companies have seen record profits, including the last few years, because of the extraordinary skill and sacrifices of the UAW workers. But those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers. Just as the Treasury Department has released a report pointing out that the most comprehensive report ever dealing with how unions are good for both union workers and non-union workers and the overall economy. Unions raise workers' wages, they said, incomes, increase home ownership, increase retirement savings, increase access to critical benefits like sick leave and child care, and reduce inequality, all of which strengthen our economy for all workers. That's because unions raise standards.
Big news has been announced, and there are new proposals currently on the table. It would make a dramatic positive impact for the Social Security people. Joe Biden is making a big decision on this in order to try to avoid Social Security cuts for all recipients. Top senators for both parties are working to save Social Security benefits. Everyone in D.C. knows that Social Security is in trouble. They only have to listen to the federal government and the program's trustees. In the latest report, the trustees projected that Social Security's combined trust funds is already running out of money, and by 2034, the program's done. But some in Washington are working on solutions to prevent the program from becoming insolvent. One of them, Senate Republican Bill Cassidy, recently revealed what he called a big idea in a webcast hosted by the Bipartisan Policy Center that could roughly save 75% of the program's projected shortfall. The proposal is to create an investment fund that's completely separate from Social Security's current trust funds. This new investment fund would invest money in the stock market, where Social Security trust funds currently put money in treasury bills or cash. Now, what I mean is that he called Social Security's current approach the Silicon Valley Bank of pension funds, a reference to the failed bank that was acquired by the First Citizens Bank. He argued that this federal program is the worst investment strategy you can have right now. The separate fund isn't really a new idea, though, because he pointed to other funds, including the Canada Plan and Ontario Pensions Plan for teachers, that were in bad shape financially but became solvent by using a market-based strategy. There are some details remaining to be worked out. For instance, some people think the proposed plan will be a gap stop to guarantee that if they won't lose money if the stock market underperforms. Cassidy said the participation is now needed from both Democratic and Republican leaders to take action for Social Security. Even though the President and Congress have limited options for preserving Social Security, they can either raise additional money, reduce benefits, or do both. Because President Biden has been adamantly against any reduction in benefits. Even Senator Cassidy said that it's not right to do that. Steep benefit cuts are on the way if nothing is done. Because of this, Americans who have retired yet should save as much as they can in retirement accounts to get things ready for the financial shortfall. And Senator Cassidy stated in the Bipartisan Policy Center that it's going to take a while and take both sides to get this deal done.
Kind of taking it on the chin, particularly at the gas pump or even at the grocery store. So any little bit is a big help.
It's transition to the cold weather day for retiree Pat Siraki of Livonia. He put away the summer pinwheels and plants, but his outdoor work came after his computer check of the Social Security increase.
Americans who are on Social Security are expected to get more in their monthly check.
The U.S. government is expected to announce what could be one of the biggest rate hikes in decades tomorrow.
Target 12 consumer investigator Sarah Granelli breaks down that and what it could mean for you.
Percent is already the biggest bump to benefits since '81, when the COLA hit an all-time high of 11.2%. According to a poll from the Motley Fool, some say it's just not enough to deal with ongoing inflation. 55% of retirees believe that the 2023 COLA could have been even higher. Advocates for seniors also argue that the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers is the metric used to calculate the annual adjustment isn't as accurate for the economic needs of the people. And I agree. This year's COLA was 5.9%, still not enough. Itself is a 40-year record broken this year, but the annual inflation rate was just 7.7 for the 12 months that ended in October. So it peaked in June at 9.1%. And according to the Citizens League, August 2022, COLA fell again by 48%. It means the average beneficiary was shortchanged $417 for the year to date. Senior Citizens policy analysts also told CNET that we anticipate an ongoing shortfall in 2023. The rate of inflation has fallen significantly from where it was a year ago. We're still in a high inflation period. The National Council on Aging called next year's increase insufficient and stated our nation's support programs are not meeting today's realities. There's serious debate on how heavily older Americans rely on their benefits.